So back to what I was saying. What I was saying.
So now let's skip ahead a little bit. So now Princess and Starbreeze. Mm-hmm. What's the next big significant step that happened or opportunity that came across your path?
Because that's just before Organized Noize and Outkast, right?
Right.
Is Netflix thing still on? The Art of Organized Noize?
No, it is. It is completely gone. Yeah.
All right. Well, Netflix did have a special called The Art of Organized Noize, and you could have heard part of Ian's story in that.
No disrespect. I know somebody ripped it. There's no way you can't find it on YouTube somewhere. It's out there.
No, we scanned for it on YouTube
Can't
too.
find it.
Cannot find it.
Oh my gosh.
We got to find that because that's one of those. I mean, it was done well, but two, it told all of the stories and parts away. It's like a part of
a big part of Atlanta music.
You got to see it.
Yeah.
So your next big opportunity?
Really, it came, from still at the Art Institute, and these two gentlemen came banging on my door early one morning.
Your home door,
home door.
Oh,
they were coming to see my housemate, my roommate.
Okay.
But I was in the first room, so when they were banging on the door, I'm waking up saying, why, this is the cops, what's wrong with y'all?
Right.
And I answered the door, and it was this rapper by the name of Peach, and his partner named Headliner.
Headliner. Who was your roommate?
My roommate was a gentleman by the name of Tony Christian, but his rap name was Chilla Frost.
Got you. Okay.
So, I started. These guys became my clients as well. You know what I'm saying? They had a group
I'm glad
called,
you're saying this because now I see how, and Ian will know because this is our now Icon Studios relationship. Why every freaking person on my calendar is Ian Client, Ian Client, Ian Client. I said, oh, so this started way before me. This is, oh my God. All right, go ahead.
This was not an Icon thing.
Wait. I'm pretty sure there's some psychology behind that because I label things specifically. So I'm pretty sure there's a reason why. Is it a client manager separation type of thing?
No, you want to know the truth? The truth is, I just wanted folks to know that I'm bringing this business to the studio.
Done deal.
There we have it.
That answers a lot because I used to.
We have it.
So let's let y'all behind the curtain a little bit.
No, yeah, a little bit. Now wait, let me
finish the story.
Quantify that.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me quantify that. No, I'm gonna address this.
Okay.
So he's like, wait a minminute.
I was asking a legit question because
So you never know what scab you're picking at, though.
So look. There are some of these people are my clients, and I give discounts to my clients, and Stone knows who these particular people are. But there are other people who call me that have to pay regular rate. They have to pay regular rate, but they will not, for whatever reason, call the studio.
Yeah.
They will do the bookings through me, saying, if you weren't there, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll go ahead and I just mark it down there.
Yeah, people think Ian's actually a co-owner. Straight up. They actually think this is. Yeah, they used to think Icon is me and Ian's studio.
So
They still do.
Wait, they still do?
No, they still do. Yeah.
Your meeting with Elise and Tanya?
Yeah.
Tanya was texting me. It was like, yeah, we're meeting with your business partner, Stone. I'm just like, he's not my business partner.
Technically, she ain't lying. But I'm glad you said that, though, because, one, we already recognize what you bring.
Right,
the business you bring to the studio. We've thanked you for that.
Yes, you have.
But I always wondered how that happened because, so Ian used to have these clients. And there was a period where everybody in Atlanta was getting a discount. And after a while, I was like, yo, what the heck's going on? Like, why are these people paying like 50% of what's going on? Ian client. I say, there's no way you can have 25 clients. Like, that's no way. And we again, y'all, we've had our fights and we went at it. We was blowing up and So, but then I noticed how it'll say Ian client, and I was like, we just talked about this, and I looked at the rate and it was a full rate. I was like, oh. I'm like, okay. Wow, he's getting his clients to pay the full rate. Then I was like, well, what he's doing, he overcharging them. As long as Icon's getting more money, he can do whatever he wants with these clients. Look, y'all, that's the game. And those of you who are paying other people, you need to look for that stuff. That's the game. Labels do it too. Labels do it all the time.
But understand the very fact.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying
absolutely
it's the game.
Like I try to tell everybody, I I make the studio work for me. You know what I'm saying? I make it work for me. Now, you don't have to be devious or anything like that to make it work for you. You just make, people see certain things.
Go on and use your favorite thing, because it
is
makes you seem slimy as hell. But go on and say your favorite phrase. You know it.
I don't know it.
And
oh yeah, the smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors, absolutely.
Ian thrives on that.
But you know what? That's what gets people. What is it?
In the
Fake
door.
it till you make it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's what helps get you that advantage. As long as you're not being
Like
deceitful,
backstabbing nobody,
right?
stealing
Exactly.
from them, and all that stuff.
So
right.
as long as you're not doing that, then it works in your favor.
So take us through this journey, and then pop in whoever I missed, and then kind of talk about each one. We're talking about, and this is who you literally work with. Okay, not just
Now we ended with Chilla, and you had just signed.
I was working with Secret Society that later became Arrested Development.
That became Arrested
Right.
Development, and that got us to the point where, because we skipped ahead a little bit,
Right.
So we can start from there and go forward.
Yeah, so Secret Society. Let's just do the name drop part right now,
Okay.
and then we'll go back and try to give some history
And fill
between
in
some
some.
of them.
Okay.
All right, so we're at Secret Society, who later became Arrested Development.
Right.
And then would TLC be after that?
Yes, Second Nature, which became TLC.
Second Nature, which became TLC. We'll obviously talk about that.
Then there was A Little Funk, L.I.F.E, which became Crisscross.
I didn't know about the L.I.F. part, but then this Crisscross.
Right. There was three
Then who's
members.
after, so that, which would bring in
That would bring me up to Organized Noise.
Organized
My
Noise.
position with Organized Noise, and then that would also bring in Escape.
Escape.
Mm-hmm.
And who came after that?
After
label
that,
after that?
No, it was label after that. It was Elektra Records
So
after
then you
that.
ran Elektra Records.
Let me just say this to Goody Mob.
Okay,
You know
so
what
then
I'm
there's
saying?
Goody Mob.
Goody
Again,
Mob.
we're going to say what his role was with all these, but again, this isn't just Ian was in the room with these folks. Like, quite literally, either their career would not have happened, or he was a part of their career. So these names we're saying, just like Life on Podcast. Could Life on Podcast happen without one of us? It can keep going, but I can't say Life on Podcast is without Johnny.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
This is the so I just want to make sure I know we ain't just blowing smoke here. All right. So we got Good Mob. Then we have Elektra Records,
Right.
Which brought you who?
Mr., which
Mr.
yielded Bobby
And then-
Valentino. Then Akon.
Akon.
And then What's Up with the Bankhead Bounce record, the single I did, which was
That's right. I forgot about that.
15-year-old D-Rock, who later became a member of the Yin Yang Twins.
Yep. Jesus, man. Every time I go over his history, as long as I've known this guy, every time I go over his history, it's crazy. And then that goes from Elektra, you went to ASCAP,
From Elektra to ASCAP, yes.
which literally changed the music landscape of Atlanta for years.
Not even just Atlanta, because that blueprint bled into the way every other
PRO probably
was doing
operate. Like
everything.
it,
Yeah.
when Atlanta, ASCAP Atlanta, Southeast never literally been the same ever since he left. All right, and then from there, now you got Purple Ribbon.
No, before that was Soleil. We can't leave out Soleil.
Yep.
Soleil was
Forgot
there.
about that. Yeah.
Yep. Was managing Soleil. And then after ASCAP, I was over there, Purple Ribbon with Big Boy.
With Big Boy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from Purple Ribbon, that came here. Did it come here from there?
No, I went to Drift City.
That was Drift City. I remember Drift
That
was
City.
the part when I
Right.
finally
But
got
nobody
a
knows what
chance.
Drift City is. But go ahead.
Wait a minute. We got some dope songs at Drift City, though.
Not to say that it wasn't good, but Drift City was some, trust fund babies. They wanted to get in the music industry, and Ian was over there. So.
But and then after Drift City was Floyd Mayweather Jr.
Oh, I forgot about
Yeah.
TMT. Mm-hmm. I forgot
I was-
about that.
I was part of the money team.
That was 2015, 2016. That was
No,
when I
no,
came
no.
back,
That
wasn't it?
was 2008.
That was before
Was
we
it
built.
that far?
Yeah, it was
Yes.
this, that, and
It's
Icon Cross.
right after.
It was
yeah,
right-
it was
it
right
was?
during
Okay.
Icon
Yep.
and right after Drift City.
I've got that completely crossed up. I thought that happened. I thought you took like a break and it happened like the mid-teens. Okay.
No, I
was
left
off.
and moved to Vegas in 2008.
You sure the heck did.
Right after-
You sure did.
Right before Shakir died.
Yep.
Yup.
That's right.
You
Right
did,
before
sure did.
Shakir
Shout out
passed.
to Shakir Stewart.
Yeah.
Okay, then from there came Icon.
Right. From there, I was a year on the West Coast and then came back and been here off and on at Icon ever since.
Yep.
All right, let's fill some holes.
Yeah, there was some times where it's like,
Get out! Yeah, that's already. You know,
sometimes
that was
you're
you.
fired.
But it was so short. It was so short. I didn't really, you know. 'Cause I used to wonder. I was like, why do you keep keeping this? I almost said the word. I was like, why do you keep keeping this kushite here? So I just wanted to do all that to know the people that Ian has worked with directly. And again, these are people who, and of course, with those names, you have your working relationships with people like your Jermaine Dupri's, your
Dallas
KPs, if you will,
Austins,
your
KP.
Dallas Austins. So he has to work with these people intimately. So Ian literally is part of the fabric of Atlanta music, period. And y'all know what Atlantic music has done for the country and for the world. So literally, when you name Jermaine and Dallas stuff, Ian's name is right there with L.A. and Reed and Babyface as far as the architect. Mm-hmm. So in case you don't go any further, you really need to understand exactly who it is that we're talking to, because some of y'all know me and you know that we're just friends. Mm-hmm. We're boys and we're brothers, and you don't really understand.
Stone's really just that friend that's hanging around because Ian lets him.
Right. And so because I don't want to harp on this part too much and keep it moving, for a lot of you guys know, Ian got me my job at So Def. So when I was at Sony and they did the big layoffs and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, I had a regular old job and I got a phone call. It was like, hey, you want a job at So Def? No, actually what he said was, Jermaine want to talk to you. And I was like, about what? He said, well, you're looking for somebody. He's going to start a publishing company.
You skipped the whole bit. Where were you when you got the phone call? You gotta.
It was at Target.
All right. What you can do is you can go to listen to episode number, I think it's episode 2, where Johnny and I talk about our come up story.
I just like that part. It was like, yeah, I was at Target.
Yeah.
I had my red shirt and my khakis on.
I was at
trying
Target.
to hide.
I was at Target. First of all, I didn't have to be ready. I was
you were working in loss
I was
prevention,
plain
that's right.
clothes
Yeah.
loss prevention, and I was following these 2 teenagers who just picked up some CDs. CDs, right?
It was a plastic.
I was literally
disc that held
following them in
information.
quiet, and then my phone goes off. Like, I think I forgot to put it on vibrate, to be honest with you. So I had to duck behind an aisle, and that's when he was like, yo, Jermaine, want to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah. So he got me my job at So Def. My wife, who does A&R admin for who did A&R admin for everyone, you know, Bieber, Teddy Riley, Akon, all them. He got her first, was it the first industry job? No. She had an internship at Sony, but her first job
was with me.
He hired her
Really?
when he ran Electric Records. Tosh worked for Ian.
I didn't know that.
That's how our relationship really grew.
Yeah, because I wanted to beat Ian up.
I had that so backwards. I thought Tosh got you to the big spot of Elektra. I thought she was the one who hit the plug. Was like, I got it.
He made
mixed
Tosh's
up.
life hell.
Oh man.
You know, he's ready to tell the story.
At this point, I'm at a regular job because this is when I was pursuing songwriting, right? So I was a songwriter, and I was at Smith Barney at
And he
the
come
time.
and pluck your girl out of obscurity.
No, and so I would call and talk, and she would complain about Ian's like, God, he's this and that, he's always late and this and forgetting this. And Ian would blame. If there was problems, he'll blame somebody. He just blame. And the closer you are to him, the more blame you got.
Was it their fault though?
No, usually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, usually. And so
It's always their fault. It's never my fault.
And so he would just go. I mean, a real a-hole. I mean, I'm just saying, real a-hole. You know, and just you know,
Good, bro. I just want to make sure.
He is telling the truth. Like,
yeah. And people can see that. Obviously, we're still close. Like we
Right,
still,
right, right.
Again,
But
it's a
again, and I
family
know
thing.
y'all still close, and I feel like an extension. But I just want to make sure, furniture gonna start moving for some scabs.
Nah, we've had worse. We've had worse. Ian and I almost got into it right outside
right in front of the parking lot.
Yeah, straight out. He's like, we gonna hit me now? We gonna hit me now? But so she came. I was talking to her, and I was on the phone, and she was crying. Don't make Tasha
You
cry.
made Tasha cry?
I didn't know I made her cry.
But the
you
thing is,
almost
like with
died.
me, like don't make Tosh cry. Like for me
I didn't
personally,
know it.
that's like my line. Like don't make her cry. So she was crying. I was like, "What happened? What's wrong?" She goes, "It's Ian, man. He just." It was something that you were doing, and it's not that Ian did anything bad to her. It was just trying to keep up with it and deal with his antics or whatever it was so frustrating, and he wasn't listening, and then it was making her job hell, and she was just crying. And I was like, "What?" Now I didn't even care. So I used to pick her up and take her to work in the mornings. So I picked her up. I said, "Where's she at?" No, don't worry about it. He's gone anyway. Something. I was like, okay. I knew I had to take her in the morning. So I dropped her off in the morning. I got out the car. She goes, "Where are you going?" I said, "I need to speak to this." I used to say stuff back then. I was like, I know. I said, "I need to talk this." And she goes, "No, you're going." And what got me was she said, "You're going to mess this up for me. You're going to cause me to lose my job." Woo! I mean, my hand was on the doorknob, and this is down in Lithia Springs.
Lithia Springs, yeah.
My hand was on the doorknob. I was ready to lay this fool out, but she was like, "You gonna mess it up for me? You gonna mess him up?" I was like, "No, go back, go to work." No. And I was like, so I went to work with her. You dodged a freaking bullet that day, boy. My God.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were that guy.
Listen. I was riding high at that point.
Seriously, dude, you got to go from being a roadie to pretty much, in all intents and purposes, running-ish in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like, that's,
No,
not everyone can usually take that meteorical rise.
No, I can see it.
And I was working like for the woman that I've always wanted to work with, Sylvia Rome.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She was an icon in the business. And her people personally reached out for me to recruit me for Elektra Records, and you couldn't tell me nothing at that point.
His crap did not stink.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember a phone call that I gave with Tasha telling her that I was going to cut her salary. And that might have been the time.
That might have been.
That might have been the time.
Because that'll do it. That's money.
Wait, why?
Yeah.
Why? First off,
I forgot what it was. I think I was going to bring someone else in, so I was going to split
the salary.
Split the salary.
Yeah, that ain't gonna fly.
Don't mess with him.
At that time, so she was probably very upset with that, and of course, it got him upset. And like any other man.
No,
you hear your woman cry, you gonna want to do something.
But I kept hearing all this other stuff before, and I was like, I mean, it's not.
He was at
it's his
Camel's back
job.
point at that point.
Right. Yeah. He was at that point. But I will not deny. Like, I have always sat back and I said, listen, I was not a perfect individual in this business. I wasn't. I made mistakes. My biggest thing, and I'll keep saying this, I didn't have the roadmap that people had. I couldn't Google it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There was, I was here in Atlanta. We didn't know what Atlanta was going to become. You know what I'm saying? So I was out here fending for myself, and the problem was I just felt like everybody had a good heart. Like, everybody would do what they say they were going to do. I had no idea that it was like kill or be killed. So that sort of
that molded you into that kind of,
molded me into.
So you're like, okay, this is the coat I gotta wear.
Right, exactly. So it's nobody's fault, but there are certain things in there. Like, if I could go back, I wouldn't change a whole lot. I really wouldn't, because it was
sometimes
definitely.
It doesn't take a lot. Sometimes it's that you're only off half a degree most times.
Right. But it was a learning situation, and not just within the music business, in life. And that's a lot of the discussions that Stone and I have. Right. It's not just about the business; it's your life choices.
I got two questions. So, and quick answers for the first one. The second one is a more in-depth one, and this is the hardest part. But I'll say this part in a minute. Question is, had things gone differently, if Ian was a more perfect person, would the friendship be what it is now, or were those the foundations of what built what is today?
You want to go first or me?
I would say, I don't know. I don't know. I'd say that it went the way it was supposed to go.
That's a fair and safe answer. I'm not saying it's a bad answer. Right. I think it's a safe answer. For me, and I can only speak for me, is I don't know if it would be the same. I'd feel it would be the same, actually. Right? I still think I'd be close with Ian, but it'd be a different kind of close. It'd be a close where I just wouldn't have any jabs to throw at him and stuff like that, because there wouldn't have been as many cracks and all that stuff. So we just would have been more of a peaceful close. But what I appreciate the closeness we've had it now is I know the F-ups, I know the grimy stuff, I know this and that, but then I had the chance to see him though work the 180. Sure. So there's a respect there that I wouldn't have had if he was always the perfect guy. There were plenty of opportunities to do the 180s. And the thing is, I've seen him keep trying to do the 180s. And then to finally, I think we were really at a point where he's like way past half doing that 180. Like, he's kind of a new guy. You know what I mean? So I have such a deeper appreciation for that. And to still say and have no problems really calling him my brother after all of that, I think maybe puts a little bit more meaning on it. So
I asked that question for two reasons. I just had my 20-year anniversary in what I might call my entertainment industry career was this past June. And I only have one person that's been there the whole time. And you hear like your favorite writers, your favorite producers, your favorite entertainers who every once in a while allude to those people that have been there for the whole 30-year run. And without those moments, without experiencing all of that grit together, those relationships I've seen don't last. It's those fights and stuff that I've noticed. Because me and my partner who are still kind of hanging, oh man, we done been through probably the same, if not more than what y'all did. I mean, money issues, girlfriend stuff, like all kinds of like real personal stuff to business stuff. And it's kind of set the foundation because we can take shots at each other now because we're more mature individuals. And then sometimes I hate to say it like this because it's gonna sound real arrogant, but getting to the pinnacle of your career and having someone who made it to that point with you, I think is extremely important because then you don't have that it's lonely at the top feeling. Right. So I always like to ask that question was if going through that fire, do you see it as being a solidification point for what the relationship is now? Because without it, would it still be the same? So that's why I asked that. Because I think it's super important that y'all
that'd be it. And I think it's fair to say, Ian, I probably spent a lot more time on the whole self-introspection, self-growth, blah, 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 right? But that's caused me when I then look at him to actually realize like the world actually hasn't even experienced who Ian can be yet. And to be honest with you, it's freaking scary.
No, I know.
Like, it's really scary. And he's just now entering into this phase of life, which proves to you it's never too late, one, right? Because he's the oldest of all of us. But he's just now entering this.
That was that Kevin Hart.
That wasn't the shot.
Word. Let me get my Don Cheadle on. Like, word.
But and we've had this talk on several occasions. I say, Ian, if you would just adjust this part, this there, this area, and like I know this is what you want, but this is what you do, and if you just focus on what you do, like it's freaking scary. Like it's scary. Like this dude, I don't even know how to describe it without rabbit trailing too much and getting off a topic.
I'll say this: we'll see it because I've said the same thing. Like it's. And then I'm going to say what I want to say. Ian is one of those people that I've heard so many of the stories I've watched. I mean, because you got to remember, the people that you manage, that was my childhood, bro.
Right, yeah.
It's like half of us.
My musical childhood. Like when I met you and I found out who you were, I was like, oh, because I'm a credit guy too. Like I'm always a who got them to being who they were.
Right.
And I was like, he's responsible for that? And it's just this guy who walked in and used to have a little badge hanging down.
I always had a lanyard or something.
Right. Like, it's him? I'm like, I gotta talk to him. And like now going through my own career to this point, seeing someone who's mastered every level, gone through the ups and downs and the bumps and bruises, has those experiences and then still has the connections. That's like that whole Jedi person who's like mastered both sides of the Force and just hasn't decided to use it. That's literally how I see Ian, dude. And it's like when I heard you were starting to do TV stuff, I was like, this is about to be it. Like Ian's about to like run like Netflix or Hulu or something. That's what's coming. I swear that's where my mind went.
Can we even? We can't talk about that yet.
We can't. I don't know if we can. Can we?
I don't know. I don't know if it's at that point.
We have to wait a little bit.
All right.
So the thing I wanted to say, and again, this is also a hard part for me. Whenever we interview people that I know, and I kind of have these connections bonds, so it's tough because you map out how you want the episode to flow, and you had these questions. Ask this question. It never goes that way. Yeah. So this has been blown up because I had a script for like how this was supposed to flow, and I've completely screwed it up. And I'm not even gonna try to fix it no more. It is gonna be what it's gonna be.
Right.
But the question that is burning for me now is, you make it to the pinnacle. You get to the top of everything you wanted and have made other people's dreams come true, and you know you've done that. And like you said, you riding high, you working for the person you wanted to work for. Comes the fall. And I don't want to say a fall per se, but more so the humbling moment. There's something that happens that you realize you got to go back, you got to get introspective. You got to say, all right, everybody's starting to say the same thing. Or there's a pattern of certain things starting to happen now. It can't be everybody else because I'm the common denominator.
Right.
What was that?
I still don't. Stone would probably be the one to answer that question more than me because I'm still lost. First of all, I haven't reached that pinnacle yet.
I like that.
I've never reached that.
Do you still want a label? I know for a while
No,
you did.
I
Yeah.
mean, you know, if a situation presented it, it's nothing that I'm actively
I
seeking.
mean, like your own.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
It's nothing that because it's so hard. I would rather have my own production, film and
Yeah,
TV
for sure,
production
for sure.
situation than try to break new artists.
Yeah.
I've often likened myself to Moses. And that being said, I don't know if I've said this to you before, like when God showed him the land of milk and honey, he said, but you'll never enter it. You'll get your people there, but you will never enter it. And I sometimes, honestly, that's I've accepted that. If that is my
I'm
path,
so glad you went there with that. And
If that is my path.
y'all might be witnessing the beginning of history right now. So, do you know why? One of the reasons why Moses never entered Canaan. And for those who don't read the word, it might sound ridiculous.
because he took credit for something that he wasn't supposed to take credit for.
Almost. Well, so basically, God told him to deliver a word to his people, and he just said, "Speak to the rock," so that these people can stop thinking that I'm a fake, or whatever. It's like, they speak to the rock, and I'm gonna have water flowing out of this rock,
right? Exactly. Yeah.
But Moses trying to be all Mr. Grandiose. Let me put a little razzmatazz in here. He went over and he struck the rock with his rod, and water gushed out. And the problem with that is, and this happens in life, like when you try to make it that you did it, and that it wasn't God really that did it, it was me. It was me. You're never really gonna put a smile on God's face if he had a face, right? So he was like, he said, that's not what I told you to do. So, and then he told me, he said, tell you what, you ain't gonna enter it over there. Which is why I tell a lot of my interns, I say, if I can't trust you in the small things,
Right.
how am I gonna give you something huge to trust you with, right? So the good news for you is it goes back to one of the things I'm saying. I think Ian's humbling thing, or what brought humbling moments into Ian's life, was he wanted stuff to happen so bad that Ian did it the way Ian figured it should go, regardless of what the universe was saying, and regardless of what God or whoever, regardless, ordained, whatever you want to put on it, right? Ian said, well, I'm going to make it happen like this. And if morality was like, I don't know, Ian was like, yeah, but it's for the greater good, right? Or if someone's trust or whatever was it going to be in question, you're like, yeah, but you got to see the bigger picture. And all those things gave Ian the so-called good reason to do some things. And not everyone saw the bigger picture. Not everyone saw the greater good, or no one said, oh, well, this is what Ian was trying to do. Like, his heart was right. Yeah, no one's going to give you that. That whatever you call it, that benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. And
so therefore, all he was left with was a marred character. You know what I mean? And then this person tells that person, and now this is Ian's character. And that's what happened. And the common root on all that was Ian was trying to get to the money. At the end of the day, he's like, what's the shortest path to this money? Isn't that he never woke up and be like, all right, let me see who I can screw over today. Yeah. That was never it. It was just, look, if you win, I win. What's the shortest path to you winning? All right, I'm gonna have to cut this little corner here. I'm gonna have to shave off a little of that here, but keep your eye on the big picture. Keep your eye on what my heart really wants. And people get lost in that crap. All they saw is what you did, and then if it doesn't work,
then I'm really the blame.
You're the evil guy. And so what I told him was, I said, stop going. The money is the last reason to do anything. That's the last reason to do it. Establish the relationship, establish the trust, which are two things that'll never get shook, whether it's money or not. And just do the work and go through the process. He's never had a problem doing the work. One of the hardest freaking dudes I know that'll work. But stop trying to find a shortcut, because there are things that come that you could never have planned on in the long journey. What's the rapper's name?
Which one?
Your roommate?
Chilla Frost?
Chilla Frost. Who the frick knew that it was because of Chilla Frost he would have met
Speech. And the headliner, yeah.
Because Chilla Frost, no disrespect, whoever Chilla Frost is, I hope you're doing well in life. But back then, like, who the frick is Chilla Frost? Chilla Frost was actually the impetus that caused Ian to meet the person that he needed to meet. You see what I'm saying? So stop trying to find the shortcuts. Just do the job, and do the job right, and just follow the path. And that's he ran into that a lot. Then the older you get, because in this industry, you're as hot as your last hot project.
The easier it is for you to fall for.
The easier, well, not only that, but the older you get, the more sense of urgency you have.
Right,
It's like,
right.
I got to make something happen now. So now the shortcuts become even shorter. And it just turns into it just snowballs at that
I
point.
want to add some wisdom to what Stone just said.
I thought I just dropped some wisdom.
You did.
You know,
There's a little bit more to it. I agree 100%, but I've always been. I think shortcuts are a part of the game after you learn how to play it. Like I tell my son all the time,
Absolutely.
stop trying to go fast until you learn how to do it slow.
Can I tell you how I renamed those?
Sure.
Because when you reach that point where you said you know how to play the game, I don't call them shortcuts. I call them smart cuts.
Exactly. That'll work. I'll
Yeah.
take that. I'll take smart cuts. And that's more so what I see now. Like I don't tell people not to take shortcuts. I think they're important. However, I always tell people don't try to bend or break don't try to bend anything yet, let alone break rules until you know all of them. Then you can work within it. Miles Davis said it first. He said, I don't play wrong notes because I know all the notes. So I know when I can and when I shouldn't so that nothing is wrong. But if you just go out there starting to make stuff up without knowing what the rules are, then you get yourself into trouble. So I would say a person like Ian and a person like you, I mean, I feel like I'm starting to get to that point now that you've made enough of the mistakes. You've seen what shortcuts not to take, that you know when to take the shortcuts and what shortcuts are best to take, or if or not you should.
Right.
So that's the extra step part I want to add to it. So don't forget that there is another level to it, but learn the long way before you start trying to take the shortcuts. That's all I wanted to add to it. Was that too much?
No, I just wanted you to finish it because this just took me back to the self-love,
Oh no,
no, because when I said you said when you made all the you know the mistakes you shouldn't be making. I was like, well, you should, and then you're like, well, if or not you should, because there goes Stone again talking about what you should and shouldn't do, and then here goes Johnny's like, well, not everyone subscribes to what Stone says.
I'm glad you did it, not me. I'm not gonna let us go down that road.
Listen, I'm telling you, I'm coachable, man. I'm never too big to not be
No,
coachable.
we had a moment like that recently where Stone gave
I
us
talk about it all the time. You get so much credit, dude. It's not even funny. I tell people all the time. I say, Ian changed my life where this part's concerned. You talking about what the focus on?
No, I was
Not the client experience story.
No. I was
okay.
going to say we were given the studio to run as an exercise.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, there's another, maybe not as big as the client situation, but it was like, you know, all right, well, if you're going to give us the studio to run, right, we need to run the studio. So the exercise for the managers. We need to run the studio. But see, what Stone didn't realize, or what we had to show him was, okay, we're not running it the way you would run it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This what
Johnny's
you're
loving this right now.
He's got that
He's
smile on his
loving
face.
it right now.
He said, look, this is our building. We need to run it the way we would run it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, yes.
Had a little trouble with that, did you, Stone?
No, and in all fairness, and when I explained it to them, they got it. I was like, I get what you're saying. I said, just so you know, in my mind, this was just an exercise. In a week, it comes back to me. So whatever it is that you did, that's work that I either got to undo or whatever. Remember when we had a guest on here, Lee Heisman, called the Comfort Disruptor or something, the Comfort Killer.
What episode was that? Go ahead, quick.
Real quick, that was episode 145. If I want to say it was 145.
No, I think that was Charles, I believe.
All right, well, 146 or something like that. But Lee was talking about how to let your people drive the bus. And let them hit the ditches and all this kind of stuff. Just only step in when the bus is going off the road.
Yep.
And so I was like, yeah, but them ditches be messing up your tires, and I'm the one that's got to pay for the tires and replace the tires.
Yeah.
All right, so Ian, 2 questions. Well, 1 question actually. You had 2 pivotal or monumental moments that happened in your life. We lost 2 important people. You lost your father, and then L.I.F.E from TLC. You guys were extremely close. I just want to know, did anything either pivot? How did that affect your life? Did it alter your path at all? Did it alter anything about your mindset or your character? Or what kind of effect did those 2? Because those are big losses. What kind of effect did they have on you?
It was that I'll start with my father. I don't know. You just think that your parents are, even growing up in the age I was in my 40s when my father passed. But you never think of life without your parents. You know what I'm saying? It was easier for me when my mother passed, but my father, because he was a hero of mine. Like at the end of the day, like my father, I believe, secretly loved me being in the music industry. Yeah, it's just hard to talk about. But
No, I
his father wanted me. My father hated him. That's the funny thing.
Well,
He didn't hate him.
he didn't know me.
He didn't know him. He
didn't hate me. He loved Tasha.
He loved Tasha. He wanted me to marry Tasha.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can you imagine if that happened? First of all,
No.
First of all, you'd be a totally different person. Not just
Totally.
because of Tasha, but then your parents being all over you for not screwing that up.
No, I cannot imagine that happening.
And I do want to shake this one. I couldn't. That wouldn't have lasted a week. It wouldn't have lasted a week. It would not have lasted a week. And I don't want to gloss over that you lost both of your parents was really hard. I've just heard you talk about your dad and
Right.
free fishing and stuff. So.
He was definitely like he was the musician in the family. He was who introduced music in my life. So him passing for me was really hard. And then the funny thing, like of course I was a big Michael Jackson fan, and he died like. I can't even remember who died first, but they both died within like a month or so of each other. You know what I'm saying? So that was just like a crazy time period for me. So,
and then what happened how did you get the news about Left Eye, about Lisa?
I was at a BMI event. I remember vividly. I was in Buckhead at a BMI event, and I was leaving the event, and I was outside, and I got the call. I can't remember who called me. But I got the call and said, have you heard? And I'm like, no, haven't heard what?
That's the worst opening line.
Yeah.
Have you heard?
And he said, I think Lisa's no longer with us. Lisa's passed. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then it's like, well, you haven't heard anything, no. And immediately I hung up from that person and I called Wanda, Lisa's mom. And her husband at the time answered the phone. And I just said, listen, is it true? And he said, well, what have you heard? And I said, I'm hearing all that Lisa's not here anymore. So, and he said, yes, it's true. And that was it. That was it for me. Like I drove to the nearby Kroger, which was in Piedmont. Mm-hmm. I called Ryan Cameron. I don't know why I called Ryan Cameron. I called the members of Black, her group Black, yeah. And I called Ryan Cameron. And I sat in that car and I cried, and just cried, and that was it. I always feel that Lisa more so than my father. I just feel like she's still watching over me, guiding my steps a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So.
I know you guys are extremely close.
Yeah, and warning, just being your agent and warning me when I'm about to do something stupid. So make me think, because I'm like, why am I thinking twice about this? You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, it was definitely both events for me were traumatic. So, it just made me want it even more so. It drove me to a point. It was like, I gotta get it. Like at the end of the day, like I have to do this, and I have to do it for both of them.
Now, when you put TLC together, because that's a lot of people don't know, you literally put that group together, and they're like, are they the highest grossing?
One of the highest
grossing female groups of all time.
Yes.
In music. Now, how did that work? Tell us how that worked, because weren't two of them together already or something? How did that work?
No, I had Crystal Jones, who was dating Headliner from Arrested Development. I wanted to do something.
Who you met through
Chiller
Crazy
Frost.
P or
Yeah,
whatever.
you know what I'm saying?
Chili P or Chill Will. What was his name?
Chiller Frost.
Chiller Frost. I knew it was cold. I just couldn't
Something
remember.
cold.
I just remember
No,
Chiller
I know
Frost.
it's chilly.
Chiller Frost. Okay.
Yeah, that's 6 degrees of separation. Anyway, she just had a look. She had the light skin, short, crop, curly hair, very tomboyish. She's just a really cute girl. And she was a dancer because she was a background dancer for a few people. Angie being one of them.
Oh.
She was a background dancer for Angie.
Angie? Our
Yeah.
Angie?
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
This is Crystal you're talking about.
Crystal Jones, yeah. She was
Get
a
outta
background
here.
dancer. Yeah. Angie will tell you.
All right, so you guys are like, well, who's Angie? All right, so Angie Irons was a girl. She was an artist on
Atlantic. Signed by Sylvia Rome.
Signed by Sylvia Rhone. And I actually signed Angie to a publishing deal when I was at Sony. And she's literally was the most talented, one of the most talented writers I've ever worked with. So small, so I didn't even know we had that in common. That was hilarious. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, Angie was at that time, I think they were just dating Eddie Irons.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was over the studio 2620, I believe.
I didn't know.
That we went and Arrested Development and I were recording there.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying? So that's how it all meshed together.
Crazy.
And then we ran into, and then Crystal and I formed a friendship. Then, I was like, I'm going to do something with you. So I was going through these different iterations of what I wanted. And I had her with this other girl named Lisa. And I was looking for a third.
Okay.
And Rico Wade from Organized Noize was like, hey, man, I got the perfect person. And he was supposed to bring her to a meeting. They weren't Organized Noize, and they were in a band called the U-Boys. They were in a group called the U-Boys. And he was supposed to bring the girl to the rehearsal. He didn't end up bringing that girl. He ended up bringing Left Eye.
Oh.
And,
Who is that girl?
But you know what? No, she didn't make the. I didn't want her in the group because of how she was dressed. She was a cute girl, had on a pleather skirt. Wasn't the look that I was looking for. I was like, she's not gonna work. She's one of these wannabe cute girls. So I was like, yeah, thank you for meeting. I just want to meet the other girl he was talking about. And I went in the back to meet with the guys. She rapped for Crystal in the front room, and Crystal came to the back room and said, Ian, you really need to hear her rap. And she came in the room and she sounded like Moni Love with the rap skills. She had that quick tongue. And I'm like, oh, snap. I was like, okay. And she jumped up and did a split in that pleather skirt. And I was just like, yes. Yes.
Yes, from the splits.
Let's get it.
You want a deal? Do a split.
So I told her, I was like, but I'm not trying to have the group dress like this. And she said, this is not how I dress. She said, you look at some of my pictures, I dress in baggy clothes. I said, well, that's what I want. Well, that's what I do. And I was like, okay, cool. So at that point, I had 3 girls. I had Crystal and 2 Lisas.
Okay.
But I really wanted to meet the girl that Rico was supposed to bring to the spot. So I was like, Rico, let's just go to her place, her house, 2 o'clock in the morning. Went to the house. Knocked on the door, Tion opened the door, and I was like, she's the 3rd member. You don't have to sing. You don't have to do nothing. This girl just looks just naturally beautiful, And I was like, you're the 3rd member. And immediately I kicked the other girl out the group, or, kicked the other Lisa out the group.
How? What did that conversation sound like?
It was just
She wasn't even there for the conversation. She's like, that
but
Lisa's
see,
in the group no more.
exactly. Like she was, not coming to rehearsals anyway.
Oh.
You know what
So
I'm
she
saying?
made it easy.
Yeah, she made
by
it
not
very
doing her job.
right.
She made it easy to
she
be
made it-
cut
yeah,
by
she
not
made it-
doing her job. Okay. Go ahead.
Fill
Yeah.
that up. So it was very simple to cut her off.
Okay.
And so that's how the group
Wow.
got together. And then Lisa, Lisa was here from Philly, so she was wandering
I didn't
around
wear my shirt.
all over the.
I got my Philadelphia shirt.
She was wandering around all over the city, and which was a problem because I had my girlfriend at the time, and she would call me at all hours of the night, and I would get up and have to go and pick her up or do something with her, because she was just like we never had nothing personal ever with Lisa,
Yeah.
Lisa and I, but she would always just be out there clowning. getting herself into trouble, being somewhere she's not supposed to be.
So you were protecting the investment.
I was protecting. Well, I was looking out for her. It wasn't an investment so much at that particular time. She was more like a friend.
Okay.
And Lisa really appreciated that because she reciprocated once she got famous. Because she was one of the only ones that was like, yo, even with her first album, say, yo, Ian, come live with me. When I didn't have a place to stay, say, yo, come live with me. You know what I'm saying? Come stay with me and help me out. And eventually we were fighting and stuff like that. But then, and when Fan Mail came out, we were at a point where and I was at ASCAP at that point. She was like, yo, I need you, you need me. Let's get together and let's really work some things out. And we created our company, Wish Recordings. I had moved ASCAP into her house for a moment before I moved around the corner from the Forest Hill. So I had ASCAP in her house. Gotcha. And while we were putting together this dream thing, and Lisa did everything for me. She introduced me to Stan Lee, which was like freaking phenomenal because I was a fan even before, the whole Marvel thing really took off. Right. I was a fan of Stan Lee. He was working on a comic book character for Lisa for her album. We were everywhere. We went everywhere together.
She got me a cake for my birthday.
Was it from Piece of Cake?
No, it was homemade.
Oh.
Yeah.
She loved to cook.
We were managed at the same time by Pebbles, by Perry Reed.
Right on.
So I remember it shocked me. But me back then, I was like, ooh, I might have a shot. Then came, what's his name, from the Falcons?
Andre.
And I was like, ooh, dodge the bullet. Nah, but she was adorable.
Yeah, that's the Lisa thing. So yeah, we were very close.
Yeah.
But she always looked out for me.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the poster that's right by your office, she signed, said, whenever you need me. And that had always been the case up until she passed.
Wow. Dope.
Obviously, those types of relationships are super rare. Just for people in general, because you grow apart naturally. That's almost just our evolution. There's so many names that reach that legacy status that you've touched. Like, are there any of those other relationships that have lasted like that?
No, you know what? No. Everyone else I have a cordial relationship with, a respect relationship with. None ever went as deep as Lisa and I. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way that goes. You know what I'm saying?
I asked that question specifically because me and Stone got into a bit of an argument on the self-love episode. And I made a statement towards the end of the episode when I said that the entertainment industry is bad for you, to a sense. And I never got to allude why I said that, because a lot of people say the industry, it'll eat you up, spit you out. I even said that, I think, in there. But I didn't say why. And a lot of my reasoning behind that is because of the relationship toxicity that comes with a lot of the people that you work with. You don't have, let me tell you right now, and I've learned to use the word friend lightly. Yeah, very lightly. Like now, even in comments, that's an associate. That's a homie. Can I be a friend? Do I count? I'm still a homie. Yeah, you're like a homie friend type thing. You know what I'm saying? I just no, just playing. Well, like friends invite you over for dinner, for holidays. They check up on you. Like Stone and Tasha will be my forever friends, forever. You know what I'm saying? Because they care about my welfare. You know,
even when we're at odds.
Yeah.
A couple of days will go by, but we'll check on it. If we haven't heard from them in like 72 hours, like we're calling to make sure. Make sure that everything is good. Or, when we get into movie mode, Stone's like, yo, you go see this? Let's go see this. And, we're off to the movies. That's the kind, those are people, and not to say. Oh, dude, that was a joke. Okay, cool. I don't want people to take it the wrong way. And then Ian was also for a while there when we would travel together, he was my proof that Stone ain't do nothing. He was my proof that the story. He was my proof that the stories you heard are true. Now wait a minute now. But Stone didn't do anything. Now wait a minute now. I had to keep him there around me, man. I was like, for real.
we named all of the artists that you work with. We've run down that list. That list is truly a gamut of greatest of greats. We've already talked about TLC still being one of the greatest female selling groups of all time. Outkast has touched rap in a way that
Redefined it.
Yeah, I mean, literally
To a degree.
redefined it, literally. And your fingerprints are all. I mean, not to undershoot what Organized Noize did, and even the purple ribbon stuff was iconic in that flash of a moment that it was. Being the person, and I ask this question in many different ways, but it's always the same: is being the person that's in the background but still at the top of guiding that stuff. You get to look back on it now as someone who I did that. How do you internalize that from a humbling perspective, knowing that it literally every single one of those things have changed the world in some respect, and you're that individual?
I really, honestly, didn't really look at it. I didn't look at it that much that way. I had to learn how to look at it because that's how I had to push myself forward. You know, it was like, okay, well, yeah, you know, I was there. I was responsible for some of it. But I didn't take that thing. I didn't own it. I honestly didn't own it. And sometimes, you know, that's what brings me back because I still have those bouts of depression, where I just want to, you know, close my room door and watch the Vampire Diaries underneath my covers.
You do that
you know
too?
What I'm saying? Absolutely.
No doubt. I mean, I do the same thing. Vampire Diaries originals are my thing.
Exactly. You know, and I'm sitting up here, you know, crying at the screen, you know, because I'm just in that mood.
Yeah.
You know, just laying around the house, you know, and those thoughts bring me back. It's like you have done things that some people will never do in their lifetime.
Not even never do. Can't even fathom doing them.
Right.
Like it's not even a part of a dream for so many people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the artists that you are associated with, like you said, they changed the world. They didn't just come out and were regionally successful. It wasn't even national. It was a cultural thing worldwide. The baggy clothes thing on TLC, nothing like that on a female group. That had never happened. Never happened before. Salt and Pepper was sort of in that vein a little bit, but they were a rap group. This was a singing group that merged hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Were you responsible for the baggy backward stuff with Criss Cross too, or was that all JD?
No, that was JD.
That was all JD? Okay.
Yep, that was JD. JD. All I did for Criss Cross was when JD needed a photo shoot for the boys, I set up the photo shoot. He saw the package that I did for Second Nature, aka TLC. And he was like, I want you to do the same thing for this group that I have. And I went out, got the same photographer. We took pictures, and that's how that
goes right back to the same thing we were talking about. I've associated you with Criss Cross in so many other ways than just that. And you're telling me now that's it. That's
all I did was I arranged a photo shoot for those boys.
And I mean, seriously, and not to undercut it, I kind of in the same vein, I don't want it to seem like it's backhanded. Yes, that may be smaller than what my mind had envisioned it.
Right.
But that photo shoot is probably one of the iconic
It
ones
was key for Jermaine. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was a key thing for JD. Like, you know, and some of the stuff that I didn't know with JD, I'm just finding out through interviews that he's doing on the various podcasts and radio shows and things of that nature. I would go back and say, hey man, you know, people come back and say, hey, did you hear that Jermaine was talking about you? And I'm going, oh no, I have to wait till it's broadcast on YouTube. And I learn something new all the time. It's just I would just sit there, well, damn, like I didn't know he thought like that. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I wanted to ask, because with what you've done, it's the equivalent of like a Johnny Wright.
Right.
Honestly,
Right.
It's the equivalent of, I mean, you can think of any of the big managers, even any of the big A&R people, right? Who people have heard of. But where's Ian Burke's name? Why, and like you look at, like I read Jermaine's book. Like you said, listen to interviews, watch The Art of Organized Noize on Netflix, you know, and there's been some other TV shows where it's like, well, Ian Burke was responsible. I mean, these are big. L.A. Reid in his book, well, if it wasn't for Ian Burke, Ian Burke did, you know. So you got everyone at the pinnacle giving all this credit to Ian Burke, But then your regular everyday Joe outside Atlanta, like, who's Ian Burke? Like, why is that? Why do you think that is? I don't know if you may have an answer, but do you have thoughts on why that might be?
I have some thoughts. I think sometimes I rub people the wrong way. I think that I made some mistakes. Like I know I rubbed L.I.F.E the wrong way.
Really?
At times, yeah, because he wanted to sign certain things that I had, and I took him to other places. He wanted to sign Mr. I took Mr. to Elektra Records. I felt like I had a better deal for Mr. At Elektra Records. He was looking at Edith Wish.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dope female band.
Yeah.
I ended up taking Edith Wish direct to Arista with Clive. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I was here and LA and LA was here, and he may have felt a certain kind of way about, okay, well, you know, you don't support really my movement, so why should I mess with you? Right. But he wouldn't stop giving me the credit that I deserve. Sure.
It wasn't a straight up hate thing,
right?
But it's kind of like, well, if you ain't gonna scratch my bag, I'm not. Scratch yours.
How am I gonna scratch yours?
I want to put something out there. So I'm gonna be full transparent on this. We're recording this on September 23rd. Today, if I'm not mistaken, is JD's birthday. I think it's today.
Oh, it might be. You might be right.
And I saw Shanti. The only reason I noticed because I saw either Shanti Das posted either yesterday or today, happy birthday to JD. And she, with that, was the thing, something else popped up in an article where JD feels like for all of his contributions to the industry, he still feels, and he's made these comments publicly, that he doesn't get the shine that he should. Right. He doesn't get the same respect. And given your association with JD, there are a few other titans in Atlanta that are sort of the same. Is that just a South thing, that the South itself just isn't giving them respect? Because, I mean, listen, there's some people that have rubbed a bunch of people the wrong way.
Right, yeah, that's true.
Like, I've heard Leo Cohen has rubbed some folks the wrong way. And Leo...
He'll rub the waitress the wrong way.
Leo gets all his shine, you know what I'm saying? So it's
dropping them F-bombs on your boy.
Right. Is it just a South thing where the love just isn't given to hear?
No, some of these people, you know, where you can't even mention, like, you can't put Leo in that type of conversation because I still feel that that's privilege.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? He came in under Russell Simmons, then he's white. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I feel that sometimes we are self-destructive here. I think that we should have been more supportive of each other here. Okay. Like, we let an outsider come in and totally take control of our scene here, you know? But it was a good thing for us. I didn't have a problem with him coming in and taking over and doing what he did because he provided an infrastructure here. But when he left, that it was up to the organized Noizes, the Dallas Austins, the Jermaine Dupri to pick up that mantle and create something that's like, okay, well, we're going to keep this going and we're going to forge forward. Nobody picked up, in my opinion,
they didn't.
Nobody picked up the torch.
So that was the hub. Like, what was the address on Peachtree? I forgot the address. I don't know. Were they on Peachtree?
LaFace?
Yeah.
I can't think. It was in Buckhead,
but it was the hub,
that tower.
Yeah, like Dallas and his stuff, their tentacle, and then Jermaine's tentacle, and then so when you took the center part out, which seemed like a bigger move. Now, what would have been great too is if that move happened, but the whole time was, let me go on to New York, make this happen so that I can then come back here and do a bigger thing. And that was an afterthought. Like, it came later, like, and by then stuff was just different. And
it was completely different. You know what I'm saying? It was completely different. Like, I'll never know why these people have their reasons for doing the things that they do. I know money is a huge motivator for that type of situation. So I mean, I can't speak on why another man does what they do. You know what I'm saying? You know, I just can look at it the way I like. LaFace is a footnote now, which I'm mad about. I can't lie. Like how did this label that created so much good music just disappear into a footnote, you know? Because you have to think there was Sierra, there was Pink, Tony. And Tony. I'm talking about like after the Tonys and Ushers and Outkast. Okay, we had a huge thing. Like, I feel that L.A. discovered Avril Lavigne. I feel like she should have been. I know I hate bringing that name up to you. I feel like she should have been a LaFace situation. You know, Motown is still rocking.
Right.
After all these years, Motown is still rocking. LaFace should be right up there, in my opinion. This is my humble opinion.
And you're not going to find a whole lot of people that disagree with you.
You
Quite
know,
frankly, but.
so yeah, you know, and like I said, the rest of these folks didn't pick up the mantle, didn't run with it. You know, and you know, people have their reasons. You know what I'm saying?
But at that point, everyone's trying to build their own thing.
Right.
Like if you think about it, LaFace was a hub, but you know, Dallas was dealing with LaFace not necessarily as Dart, but as Dallas Austin, a producer. Jermaine Dupri was not dealing with So So Def as Jermaine Dupri, the producer.
But I thought that they would take the lesson. What L.A. did was unite the unite the clans.
Unite the clans. That was perfect. That was so unplanned. It's not even funny. Go watch Braveheart.
yeah. Shout out to Braveheart, Mel Gibson. He united everybody. One of the biggest albums to come out of here, The Crazy Sexy Cool. Everybody ate off of that. L.A.F.E,
And Boomerang.
Jermaine, but Organized Noize wasn't on Boomerang.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about that included
Everybody.
Everybody. Jermaine was on that. Organized Noize was on that. Dallas Austin was on that. L.A. and Babyface was on that. Like that showed the power of the unity. Like if we can continue doing this and we could do it together.
Yeah.
We can, you know, okay, all right, L.A. may be gone. He's going to be a big wig in New York at one of the major labels. We can still continue this thing. We can run it. Atlanta still stayed on the forefront of music, but not through any of our situations.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? Now, other smaller situations rose in the aftermath. We have QC that did extremely well. We have LRVN that did extremely well. We have Generation Now that's doing extremely well. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is,
What makes those different though? Those are label driven. They're not really producer driven labels.
right,
though.
right,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? Yeah.
So, you know, we have the same problem that we had in the South going back over 400 years, and that's separation. It's what the white man put in our minds is separation from each other, not to work with each other. And I feel that because of that, everybody decided, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing and create my own thing. And, you know, what situation now is still rocking? There is, you know, you hear Rowdy, but you don't really hear Rowdy. You hear of So So Def, but there's no real office now with So So Def. Organized Noize, they're out there producing, but you don't hear it so much as a label. It's more of the production situation. And I feel like it could have been a stronger entity. It could have been something strong if they would have united and pulled
I
things
think you kind
together.
of answered what happened and why it happened in giving the whole breakdown of what happened. And this is just general life stuff. Everybody's not eventually built to be that leader. Everybody's not a uniter. And I think it went the way it was always going to go because it wouldn't have had the hub if that individual didn't come here and do it. Had LA not done it, it wouldn't have happened.
Oh no, it wouldn't have. It wouldn't.
So-
have. It was definitely a good thing. LA coming to Atlanta was definitely a good thing. Yeah, I will never knock that. And he brought the culture here to Atlanta, you know. But we already had plants here.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? What he did was come and cultivate the garden. Sure. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'll never deny that his presence here in Atlanta was a major presence, and it had to happen for us to be where we are today.
My last
I
question.
was gonna say that's all I got.
I got one
But I
more.
got one closing after yours.
It was an
And it's a
offshoot.
closing.
It was an offshoot from the last question I asked that got us to that whole thing. Was of the artists and of all the great projects you've touched and all the great things you've seen and been a part of, is there one that stands out as far as not so much legacy on a global scale, but
Right.
from a personal perspective that you look back and you can legitimately say, of all the things I'm proud of doing, that one.
I wish if I had to choose one, it would have.
Penub.
What's that?
The Wick and Penub record. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead.
You weren't there. Okay.
I was not there. It's the first time I've heard the song. Yeah,
It would have to.
probably not that one.
It would have to be TLC, and the reason why it's TLC is because that was something that I was in total. It was my vision. You know what I'm saying? Like I created that from scratch. I had no idea that they would become, thanks in no small part to Pebbles doing what she did, become the biggest selling female, or one of the biggest selling female of groups of all time. Actually, they at one time were the biggest selling female group of all times. And that would, because one of my idols, Berry Gordy, he created the Supremes. So to know that I
in the same
surpassed
conversation.
him,
And
that thing is hell. I'm not comparing myself to Berry Gordy, of course, but to know that I did that because I look up to Berry Gordy and things of that nature, it was important to me. But
next time you create your next big hit, though, just tie yourself into the royalties.
Yeah, exactly. So I can get paid on the back end. But I must say, like, I was sitting in the audience at the Grammys when Outkast won Album of the Year, which for a hip hop group, nobody's ever done that on the hip hop side. And that was like watching your kids graduate from college, summa cum laude. I was just sitting there and I was so freaking proud for Love Below, Speaker Box of Love Below. So there were so many, and even Bobby V, watching him emerge from Mr. as the solo star that he became. Because I never knew, if I put my money on anybody in that group, it would have been Daryl.
Right.
Because Daryl he just had the voice. Daryl had the voice, but Bobby had the determination. Right. He was going to do it. He was going to do it. And he told me, like, I'm going to make this happen for myself. And he did. Yeah. He did.
I was a part of an interview with Steve Hammond, who, and I think I mentioned this interview to you. He was president of Parkwood Entertainment, Beyonce's situation, and had his fingerprints all over the Coachella thing. He was the you of the Coachella thing. And in that interview, he said, they asked him, like, what would be, like, would you do it again? And he flat out said, he's like, no. He was like, when you do something of that magnitude, of that scale, and you touch that many people, and he goes down a list of talking about how Asians in Japan and China know about HBCUs now because of Beyonce. He's like, I would never go back. He said, there's nothing I would ever do. This is my last question in here, is asking that. Like, with that being his moment, that being a step with him saying he would never go back to another artist and try to take them to do a Coachella because he know that's his Thriller. He can't top that.
Right.
I've seen you put your fingerprints on the creation of some other things. Are you still in that mindset of attempting to do that now, or is that my fingerprints are on global change already? I'll never do that again.
So the part B to that, because it's my last question, is if that's the case, what's next for you?
That's where I was
going.
I would want to do that, but just in something different. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't shoot for TLC to become the biggest selling group. I didn't shoot for Outkast to become the international sensation that they were. It just happened. So I would continue doing the same thing that I'm doing in another genre, in another form of entertainment. And I always dream in the back of my head, and I do this, like I on a daily basis, 1,000,000 times a day. I will sit there and say, you're the ish. I will tell myself that.
Absolutely.
You're the ish. You know what I'm saying? And what you're about to do is going to change everything. You know what I'm saying? So I always feel that way, whether it happens or not, it's one thing.
You
but
do the work.
I do the work.
Yeah.
As long as I do the work, look, that's all I can do. And like, if God chose to call me home sooner than I had anticipated, I feel like I have left my mark.
No, you made a mark
in this industry.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
No question.
For sure.
So,
you made it in the L.A. Reid's book, bro. That's, and I'm not just saying it because you made it in a book, but from, again, going back to what we're talking about, the way people speak of you, the mark is solidified.
Yeah.
I gotta say this, as someone who also has never had a mentor per se, you didn't do it intentionally, but that stint with Drift City and all of those years, the AMTC stuff, and just let me shoot you text randomly back when I was doing it, and not being too big at the time to answer the questions of a little 14, 15-year-old. There's a lot of stuff that I've done that probably wouldn't have happened without knowing some of that stuff, or at least feeling like I had a person that was close enough to a mentor to help guide some of the stuff.
No, I appreciate that.
And I'm pretty sure it's hundreds of other people out there that can say the same thing. So even though I'm not global, there's a lot of people yet. I'll say that I have touched a lot of global things, and what I'm saying, what I'm getting at is that I've also become content with, maybe I'm not supposed to end a cannon either. I've gotten real close though, and sometimes that honey spills out a little bit, and I've helped other people get there.
Right.
And I can honestly say some of them can thank you from some of the stuff that I learned from you, for me being able to help them get there. So even on that global scale, like, you've touched more people without even touching them directly. So my eternal gratitude, and theirs too, even though they don't know who it goes to. Because legendary status doesn't go to just the stars that you see on stage, man. It's a whole infrastructure behind it.
No, you're right. And to speak to that point, not to drag this out any longer than it needs to, like, I did a Zoom call at one time. There was this woman here that has a one-woman show that she does about L.I.F.E. And she had a big Zoom thing that I was a part of, that I was on. And I'm watching the lives that Lisa affected, and one of the lives was the author of the book "The Hate You Give," which was actually turned into a movie. And this girl was about to commit suicide until she heard the song "Waterfalls," and then she had the chance to actually meet Lisa, and they formed a bond. So Lisa's effect, it's a ripple effect. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's that?
That song Ripples, that had to do with KOD. Remember that song? Oh, I got to remind you of that song.
Yeah, you go.
Tosh keeps telling me I don't know why I won't put it out today. It's a ripple effect.
The ripple effect, and knowing that, and she was happy to speak to me because I'm the one who helped Lisa get into the position where she could affect her life, and help her take her from the brink of suicide to actually becoming an author and a producer, film producer.
That's dope.
You know what I'm saying?
I've had people who only had conversations with me though because I knew you.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and y'all know how big I am on my reputation and the brand that I try to build for myself. But I'm thinking of a particular person right now who I was trying to do business with, and I was like, "Yeah, I co-own Icon Studios." He says, "Oh, you know Ian Burke?" And I was like, "Yeah." I didn't say what the situation was. I just said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh man, well shoot, man, if you friends with Ian Burke, then you got to be." I think he almost literally said, "You got to be legit." Which I fought not to be offended. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, yeah, I guess so. But that's happened a few times where people they cross the familiarity threshold that we try to break down simply because they know I worked with you or they knew you worked with you. And I mean, Sony absolutely established my name in the city, but being at So Def, that did a whole other thing for me. You know what I mean? So, and now that was because of you too. And then Ian continued, and I will say it on record that Icon has survived many a lean times sheerly because of the business that Ian has brought over here. Hands down. This is going on record for everyone to know, like, seriously. So he absolutely has contributed to the success of what Icon has become. He'd been here from day one when this was a framed out building, standing here when Rodney Jerkins wanted to buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Brought me here shortly after to meet you. For that first,
so it's amazing. So you never get to, the beautiful thing with you, which I hope helps you through those depressive states, which it seems like it has, is reflect. Not everyone gets to meet the people they've affected.
Right. Yeah.
And you have them around you. You know what I mean? Of people whose lives you quite literally affected in a positive way. So yeah, always cherish that, and always know that at this point you mattered. Like, it's not even like at this point, like if you went home today, you have mattered.
Right.
And there are people still striving to get there.
I mean, listen, you affected people so much that another rap group came out with a song called "No Pigeons" to counteract "No Scrubs."
Yeah, I would keep that effect to myself.
But that just shows you how deep it goes. It goes from the crust to the mud. Man, it's everything.
So yo, man, it's been a pleasure to have my brother on here today. how can people reach you, man? Where can you be found?
My IG page. I always encourage people to go to my IG page at Ian F Burke, IANFBURKE. I also have a link on that page in my bio where you can actually get a free consultation with me. You can schedule a free consultation with me. And we'll talk. I'll call you. Spend like 15 minutes on the phone. And
this is like a timeshare consultation.
No, what's a timeshare consultation?
Well, you get the free consultation,
one, but you got to
by the time you leave, you feel like you just sinned if you ain't buying a $10,000 package.
It's a timeshare consultation.
That would be a sales pitch at the end.
But listen, you get to speak to me for 15 minutes. Enjoy your time at Disney
And
World.
trust me, somewhere in there working with them, you're gonna end up here at Icon Studios. I already know that. On the calendar, Ian Client. Yo, man, y'all, thanks for joining us today.
Let me give also my website.
Oh, please, please.
www.ianfburke.com. IANFburke.com. So
Absolutely. No, sorry about that.
Good. No, you good.
Absolutely. Johnny, where can they find you, bro?
Just Johnny Vaughn, JUSTJONYVAN on all your favorite social media
You can see him dancing.
Yeah, come get some of this talk love.
And honestly, for me, instead of spelling out all my double O's and 00s and stuff like that, tell you what, just go to stonestafford.com.
There you go.
STONESTAFFORD. But if you want anything and everything that is Life on Podcast, just go to lifeonpodcast.com. We are on YouTube and on every other platform that you check out your podcast on. Ian, again, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
And I want to end it with
Uh-oh.
Life on Podcast.
Yo, we out. We love you. Thanks for your support. Peace.
So back to what I was saying.